Hello, everybody, and welcome to another video requested by Calm Down Level Up, Mr. Jackson. He said that everybody Paradox YouTubers, even though, well, I guess I play Hearts of Iron. Technically, I'm a Paradox YouTuber. To make their own Empire tier lists as he made his. There's actually a website, tiermaker.com, that you can actually like upload images to and stuff, and then make your own tier list, and then just record the screen, which is just so much easier than whatever he did. So that's what I'm doing. You can see all the pictures at the bottom of all of the empires that I have chosen to put in this list. Some of them that he had, I have chose to take out, like the Mexican Empire and the Italian Kingdom, because fuck those two. They're so low on the list, they would be so below D, it's not even funny. If there was a Z tier, they would be there. So we have S, A, B, C, D, 4 tiers, S being the best, D being the worst. We've got all these empires we're going to choose. I also have Caredwin here.
Hello.
So I'm going to rank these myself, and then she is going to jumble up the yeah, she's gonna do her own, basically.
I'm gonna rank them.
She's going to rank her own as well. So
I know how to rank them.
oh boy. It's gonna be interesting. All right, so let's get started. I guess we'll just go like straight down through them. So we'll start here with the French First Empire. So this would be Napoleon's empire, which was rife with many things, but Napoleon was definitely one of them. I have to say, I don't know about this one. People are ranking it very, very high, but I also I have some fundamental problems with the First Empire of France. The first one is the whole idea of the whole revolution and everything was to create a republic, not another empire. So they went from dickhead in charge, who they beheaded, just to another dickhead in charge, who's just slightly shorter. Also, yeah, he did pretty damn good in defending the country and fighting off, like, what was it, like 5 coalitions of Europe. But he lost pretty embarrassingly at Waterloo, and when he tried to come back the second time around, just wasn't as fun. So, while I do have to say the French First Empire is quite impressive, I don't think it's S tier. It's A tier. It's an A-tier empire. The fact that they could fight off all of Europe basically on their own while they're in the middle of their own civil war is quite damn impressive. But at the same time, they weren't even supposed to be an empire. That wasn't the whole point of the revolution. The next one, whose flag I think I fucked up, but that's fine. Just pretend the coat of arms and stuff isn't there, is the French again, the Second Empire. This is the one that people don't really think about very much because this is the one that's famous for surrendering all the fucking time. This is the World War I, getting their ass kicked until they finally managed to fight back the Battle of the Marne, and I surrender in the first, 3 weeks of World War II France. D tier. Pathetic empire. Very bad. Terrible empire. Like modern day France and post World War II France is way better. Free France was even better under Charles de Gaulle. So fuck you. The next one we have here is, do you know who this one is?
A red flag.
It is a red flag. It is Germany, but which Germany is it, you might ask?
Germany Empire.
It's the German Empire? No. Well, kind of. This one is, there's 2 Germanys in this one.
Okay.
I know, right?
Okay.
This one is the German Reich.
The German Reich?
As in Hitler.
Oh, Hitler.
This is Hitler's Germany. So from 1933-ish, just after the collapse of the Weimar Republic, up until 1945 when the Soviets stormed Berlin and murdered everything in their path. D tier.
I thought you were going to put it in the C tier.
No, if that's the case, we're moving France up to the C tier. Because I don't think anybody deserves to be below Nazi Germany. I mean, they had a pretty good run at the start. The Blitzkrieg was a great idea. However, they made the the worst mistake in the world by invading Russia. That was the stupidest thing you could have ever done. Only one of the empires on this list has ever managed to successfully do it. So yeah, good job. This one is the Qing. So this is the Chinese Empire.
I was going to say that because it had a dragon on it.
Well, good job for you. This is the Qing. So I selected the same Chinese Empire, the same Chinese dynasty, I should say, not empire, as Calm Down Level Up, as Jackson did. Because he's totally right. It was the biggest territory they owned. It was the largest empire that they had till their collapse and formation into, well, civil war for 50 million years with a brief pause to fight the Japanese. So yeah, they did okay. They got humiliated by the British one too many times. They completely fucked up in the world wars. They weren't very powerful and all, but they did own a lot of land and a lot of people. They just weren't very good at militarizing anything. I'm going to put them into C tier because, I mean, they did outlast at least World War One, where the French barely did. Now we move on to the.
That one.
Do you know that one?
Is it the British?
It is the British Empire.
I did know that.
Her Royal Majesty's Empire. Some people split the British Empire into two parts. Did you know that? Some people. Well, there's the British First Empire and the British Second Empire. I encompass them all into one because Britain didn't really lose her empire so much as had a bit of a blip because they owed a lot of money and fought a lot of wars all of a sudden. So I'm just gonna clump Britain into one. Now Britain is an impressive empire because she never lost her empire due to conquest. It was simply due to rise in nationalism in places like India and Canada, the United States. The only real violent one that anybody remembers is the, of course, War of Independence with the United States of America. There were others, of course, but that is the only one that people tend to remember, which is fair enough. Spread far and wide, fought World War II, even though she was far outnumbered and definitely outgunned for a little while. Barely impressive empire, plus God Save the Queen. S tier, our first S tier empire. Good job, Britain. Good job. Good job. You did good. Okay. Our next on the list, SPQR, is the great, mighty Roman Empire. So, our first ancient empire, I guess, unless you count the Chinese, although it's the Qing Dynasty, so technically not. Again, another reason we put the Chinese up there is because they lasted so fucking long. So do you actually know what SPQR stands for?
No.
I don't know how to pronounce it. All I know is that the end of it is Romulus. Is Romanus. But I mean, it essentially has to do with the Senate. The Roman Empire is very impressive. It was the largest empire the world had ever seen at that point, which is impressive. Clap, clap. Good job, Rome. They came out of a city-state, so they literally came from... Basically, they had the same start as everybody else, but they became a massive empire, defeating everything from the Carthaginians, which we'll talk about in about 5 seconds, as well as like the Etruscan League at the very beginning, fought some Greek wars, of course, Egypt later on, when there was a little bit of a conflict with a very well-known man named Caesar.
Caesar salad?
Not Caesar salad.
Caesars.
Caesarean section, technically.
Caesars?
Caesarean section is actually, that's actually where the word came from.
Tomato juice?
I don't think that's where the alcoholic one came from. I have to look that one up. I actually don't know. The Caesar salad, though, I don't think technically came from that.
Caesar salad's really good. My favorite.
I agree. Caesar salad is very good. So, thank you for Caesar salad. We're going to put you in the A tier, Roman Empire. The actual reason we're putting you in the A tier is because A, you were badass at military. B, you were huge. And C, if you count the Byzantine Empire, you lasted for a long-ass time. So, good job, Rome. Clap, clap. A tier with the French first. This flag, a lot of you probably don't recognize. If anybody does recognize it, good job to you. And you've also played it. No, you've also probably played a lot of Total War games, especially Rome. This is the flag, or at least the concept of the flag of the Empire of Carthage. Where's
that?
So Carthage was mostly a trading empire. They were located. Their capital, Carthage, was located in modern-day Tunisia, which is northern Africa.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but they had trading posts and stuff in parts of Italy, in the island of Sicily, as well as Sardinia, which are in the Mediterranean, parts of Spain.
Mediterranean, that sounds
the Mediterranean area in Europe. They had quite a lot.
Oh, so not the Caribbean.
Not the Caribbean.
Why
Now,
are we not in the Caribbean? I want to go on a vacation.
nobody, they didn't even know the Caribbean existed at this point. This was long before Columbus decided to trek around.
Oh, okay.
This is before Rome was even really Rome.
Okay.
Like, they were powerful,
Sorry,
but-
I'm sorry.
So Carthage, while impressive with a trade empire, good job to you guys, and you managed to break from the fold of your people. Good job again. Militarily, you were fucking pathetic, even though you did have Hannibal, who crossed the freaking Alps with war elephants to attack Rome, and he did kind of, trudge around. Oh yeah, war elephants, literally went across the Alps. Hannibal, look him up. He's an interesting fellow. So that's quite nice. However, you still got your ass kicked so bad by Rome that for quite a long time, we didn't even know where the city of Carthage actually was. We were pretty sure it was in Tunisia, but we didn't know for a very long time. I'm pretty sure they've more or less found it at this point. So, For your embarrassing defeat at Rome's hands, except for Hannibal, we will give the exception to Mr. Hannibal, we are going to be a B-tier empire.
Like Hannibal Lecter, the one that eats people?
Not like the murderer Hannibal Lecter, no. As Hannibal was a much more... Actually, he was way more evil. Way more evil. Yes, so this one is the German Empire end of World War One. So no, the USSR technically wasn't an empire. Oh. Technically not.
I don't know much.
In the same way that the US wasn't an empire back in the days of like the USSR and Cold War. But anyway, no, this German Empire was an empire before the end of World War One. It formed in the 1870s, 71, I think. Very famous ruler with Otto von Bismarck, who created Germany together, because Germany actually used to be separate states, Prussia being the most powerful of the states.
Prussia?
Prussia, yes.
Prussia.
Yes, Prussia.
It sounds like somebody has a stutter.
Yeah, I don't think the Russians liked the Prussians very much for that reason. But the Prussians were very powerful. There was also stuff like the House of Brandenburg. It was mostly just a bunch of little, like, city-state kingdoms around. Okay. And then they formed into one empire under, I believe it was Otto von Bismarck. And then there was a whole bunch of other stuff going on. And, yeah, they created an empire. Was it successful? Mostly. They formed Germany, as we know it today. Without the formation of this empire, Germany technically kind of wouldn't exist. They did a lot of colonizing in Africa, so that's always fun. They had some colonies, like Cameroon, for example. Very popular one. And German... I really hope that the mic didn't pick up that joke. That was awful. That was fucking awful. Jesus Christ. Okay. So, yeah, so they did some I'm just going to ignore you. They did some colonizing. They did okay, but the first major war that they were in, they lost pretty terribly. So we're going to put them C tier with the Qing. Are you okay over there?
Yeah, that was funny.
Jesus Christ. Do you know what this one is?
No.
This is the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Like, wait, what? Hungarian? Like
So,
I'm hungry?
Yeah.
Hungry.
Like that.
I am hungry.
No. Like the country of Hungary.
Did you know that some of their stamps were in the shapes of bananas?
Who, Hungary?
Yeah.
Oh, that's how I actually didn't
Wait,
know that.
Was it Hungary or Turkey? One of the two.
Hungary sounds more likely. Turkey's not really a fun country.
I think it was Hungary.
Hungary makes more sense. They're like a European country that has at least a little bit of fun.
Yeah, my grandpa used to collect stamps.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Can somebody verify in the comments if it was Hungary that had the banana-shaped stamps?
It was either Hungary or Turkey.
Hungary or Turkey. It sounds more Hungarian to me because Turkey just doesn't like to have a lot of fun. They're very strict. No, it's fine. Somebody in the comments will point it out and correct which one it is, which is pretty cool. I actually didn't know that. That's really interesting. You know what? I didn't include the Ottoman Empire in here. The Ottoman Empire, I'm going to just say C tier because it's a piece of shit. The end. Okay. I realized that's one I forgot. It was the Ottoman Empire. I'm like, I know I'm forgetting one, and the Ottoman Empire was the one. Shit Empire, C tier. The end.
Sounds like an Ottoman, like I put my feet up on.
I don't know if that's where the word came from, but I really hope that's where the word came from.
Or like autumn.
Like the
season.
I don't think so because the Ottoman Empire was in the Middle East, which is all desert, and I don't think they have autumn.
Okay.
Yeah. The Ottoman though, the chair thing, yeah, I think so. Anyway, we have to talk about the fucking Austrian-Hungarian because that's what we have in front of us.
Hey, I'm sorry.
God, jeez, we're getting off track. Okay. Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Austro.
Yeah. Austro. A-U-S-T-R-O. Austro. Like Austria. Austrian-Hungarian Empire. Austro or Austrian-Hungarian Empire. People say it both ways. It is technically Austro-Hungarian Empire, but whatever. They were a pile of garbage because they were ruled by the Habsburgs, who were a bunch of fucking morons anyway. Just to be clear, fuck the Habsburgs. B, because they were actually two countries in one, they had self-governments. So, and they did that with a lot of the things, like they took over like Bosnia and stuff like that, and they gave them a lot of self-governance to Bosnia and other states. So they were less of an empire, more of like a coalition, just headed by one guy. It was like a company run as an empire. It was weird. Very strange empire. But the main reason I'm going to say this empire is kind of fucking shit is because of World War One. So they ended in World War One. This is when the empire collapsed at the end of World War One, just like the Germans, just like the Russians, who we'll get to. The French technically kind of didn't really survive it too well. British were fine, mostly. The British? In World War II, yes, they did. Yeah, the RAF.
That's all I remember from socials class.
Okay. But, yeah, so the main reason I'm going to say that they are a C-tier empire. Not a D-tier. They weren't that terrible. I mean, they held their own, kind of. But they could not, on their own, Austro-Hungarian Empire, huge army, massive army. Like, huge army, modernized mostly.
So not a cardboard army.
Not a cardboard army, a real army. Could not defeat the Serbian army. I just want to put this in perspective. Nobody can see this. Austro-Hungary size.
Yeah.
Okay. Serbia.
How did they not defeat them?
Yeah. They absolutely pathetic military on that one, and it was the first huge conflict they got involved in. Did not survive. Nobody was asking Luxembourg for help. Nobody was asking Luxembourg to help.
Why not?
I also realized I didn't put the Dutch Empire in here, but I don't think Jackson did either. And just to be clear, the Dutch Empire would be a B tier. They're not bad. They were okay. All right, this one is
space.
Probably the one.
Space Empire.
I wish they. You know what? Honestly, if they had have managed to keep their empire together, I wouldn't be surprised if they were just in space. This is the very famous Mongol Empire.
Oh,
the Mongols.
The Mongols.
Yes, the Mongols. Jackson put these guys in S tier. Okay, all right. And I'm going to explain the good and the bad and the ugly. So the Mongols conquered a very large amount of area in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, they're great.
Genghis Khan, of course, very famous, right? Everybody knows who Genghis Khan is.
One empire I actually know about.
Yeah. There are, I think it's 22 or so million descendants of Genghis Khan alive today, so who are Genghis Khan's direct relatives.
Love Genghis Khan.
Descended from them. Their tactics were extremely effective. They mastered horseback warfare and archery, which allowed them to defeat much larger armies with a much smaller army. They were very small too. There wasn't very many of them to begin with. They conquered Russia in the winter.
Yeah.
Nobody else has done that, so good job for them. The bad, they did kind of possibly start the whole plague issue that Europe had for quite some time. Oopsie daisies. Also, their empire really didn't outlast Genghis Khan very long, because Genghis Khan had the Alexander the Great disease of not deciding a proper heir and not consolidating very well. He was great at expansion, but very bad at empire building. So when he died, and after I think 1 or 2 generations of Khans, the empire split up into multiple different khanates around. So the empire itself had different sections ruled by different people. There's the Golden Horde, for example. I think that was the Russian one. That's the one I really remember, because that's how the Russians became an empire and stopped being the Kievan Rus, which was more or less a collection of things. So good job, Russia, for fighting them off. They did get their asses kicked by the Russians eventually. That's how they kind of got the most of their collapse. So these khanates slowly collapsed in on themselves as regional powers rose up, like China and Russia. So that's kind of bad. So as an empire, it didn't last very long. So that's why I don't think it deserves S tier. I think it deserves an A tier, though, because they did do a lot of good. So good job.
Woohoo.
This one, do you know? No, close. Well, not close, but name-wise you're close. Is the Swedish Empire. You got it. I don't know if they can hear you. You're pretty...
Then move over.
Okay. I'll move over a little
Swedish meatballs.
Swedish Meatball Empire. I included Sweden in here for one reason, and that reason is because they actually beat the Russians, and because... Oh, fuck, what the hell was his name? Gustav the... Oh, I don't remember.
The 27th.
No, it was not that high. It was the 14th or something. I will have to look that one up. I honestly forget. Fascinating guy. Brilliant military leader. This empire did not last very long, but who in the right mind would ever think, oh, hey, when you think of empires, did you know Sweden had a fucking empire? No, you didn't know that, did you? You did not know that. S tier empire.
I like Sweden.
Nobody expects Sweden.
Sweden.
There you go. Sweden.
The S says S. The S says S.
Yes, okay. No nursery rhymes.
Why not?
S tier empire. I know this one's going to get people really mad because the Mongols are not an S tier and the Swedish are. Okay, next empire, the Russian Empire. They were kind of garbage. Revolution, of course, ended them. They became the USSR. They were never really good militarily. They were not very modern, and they didn't modernize very well. They did win some wars. They were quite threatening because they were an empire, but they also let the Balkans kind of get away from them, and even the Ottomans held their own against them for a little while. I think they did lose most of the wars against them, but they actually, tried. So, B-tier empire. Not great, but you did last a good while. You had a lot of lands. You were somewhat threatening, so I guess, sure. Do you know what this empire is?
No.
We're down to the last three. This is Portugal.
Portugal?
Yes, Portugal had an empire, actually a very big one. They owned a large amount of what we now call Brazil. That's why a lot of people in Brazil speak Portuguese.
Do you know what Brazil reminds me of?
What does Brazil remind you of?
Pina coladas.
Pina coladas, that's fair, yeah. But the Portuguese, they owned a large amount of South America, actually more than the Spanish at some point. They were, I believe, the first ones to get on the Indian trade routes. So they set up these client cities in India, and they, as well as did some, essentially, piracy for money.
There was pirates in Portugal?
Portuguese pirates. That's what the empires of the Indian Ocean Trade Network would have called them, yes. Would have been pirates. Technically.
They're pirates?
They weren't, amazing
no.
or huge.
Don't ruin this for me. They're pirates.
Okay, they're pirates.
Yes!
Fine, whatever. However, they are also responsible for a lot of atrocities in the New World when the New World was discovered, so there's that to deal with. They were, a decent empire, though not militarily the best at everything. They were really good at seafaring stuff. So I'm going to put them in the middle there with the bees. All right, do you know who this is?
X marks the spot.
It is. Dig there. No, don't actually dig on my screen, please. Stop it. Don't touch. This is the Spanish. Hooray, Spain. Salsa dancing and salsa in general and tacos and whatnot.
Yum.
So, Spain was pretty good. However, I'm going to rank them very low, and I'm going to tell you why I'm going to rank them very low.
Why?
Overinflation. They mined way too much silver in the New World and basically bankrupted themselves. They thought it would be great to fund the many wars that were happening. However, they just didn't realize inflation was a thing. Terrible atrocities in the New World. Lots of them. I know the British had them too, but the Spanish were really, really, really bad, and they were on the scene first. Not first, but very soon after. Terrible atrocities there. They were terrible at keeping things. They lost most of their North American land before the French or the British. I think even the Portuguese still had a lot of their land before the Spanish even collapsed. The Spanish Empire fully collapsed in on itself too. Not the best of empires. And I'm not a fan of the Spanish in general. C tier.
Okay.
The last one. Do you know this one?
The sun.
Technically the land of the rising sun. No, it's not the New Orleans Empire. No, it's not that. It is the Japanese, everybody! Hooray, Japan! The Japanese Empire, which was a thing throughout most of World... It was pretty much World War II exclusive. They weren't really an empire before that. They did some conquering in Korea. They did some conquering in the Pacific Ocean. Both.
Okay.
They didn't really exist as countries then. It was just Korea at that point. Yeah, I know, right? Unification is possible, everybody. It happened before the Japanese got there. Anyway, they conquered a lot of the Pacific. So there's that. That's always nice. In World War I, before they were the enemies. However, of course, they were a very short-lived empire. They got their asses kicked because they were morons and tried to invade the United States of America by bombing Pearl Harbor, thinking that would stop the United States from actually gearing up and going to war. So... stupid move. And they did a lot of very, 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 very terrible things. So just for that, we're going to rank them C tier with the Spanish and the Austro-Hungarian. So there we go. There's the list. Keep in mind the Ottomans are, I think there's, did I say C tier for the Ottomans? Yeah, C tier too. So they're there. The Dutch, if I remember them, would probably be B tier. So there you go on those ones there. So that is my tier ranking list. Thank you for watching. If you want to see, if you want to see Caradwin's version, we'll be uploading that tomorrow. And you can watch Caradwin rank all these freaking empires on the whim of her. I don't even know. So that'll be interesting. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Peace.